already live.
We're already on.
Sorry guys, what a anticlimactic start to season 1, episode 1. My my director, or my production assistant, is yeah, she's not keeping up to date with her Wirecast training, and obviously not. The transitions leave a little bit to be desired. So, welcome to the John A. McCabe Show on Monday. What is today? August 29th, 1 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. And, you know, this is the inaugural show. It's the kickoff show of the John A. McCabe Show. So what I'd like you to do is to like, share, and comment on this. Leave some comments on the video if you can. And like it and share it to all your friends. Just let them know that you're here with us, joining us. Maybe they'll come in and join as well. Now today's guest we were supposed to have is Mike Wolf. Now Mike has been traveling in Europe and he's actually in Prague right now. And Mike and I just could not get a solid internet connection for today's episode. So unfortunately I'm going to have to wait till Mike gets back into the country before we can actually bring him in live, because it's just not a stable internet connection. And so, but I have a great show. I have somebody else lined up. I have a couple great things lined up for you. I have an interview that I previously did with one of my coaches and mentors on marketing, and it's specifically related to real estate investing. So I want you to stick around for that. And also, now, since Mike's not here to do an education, what I'm going to do is I'm going to share with you the 3 types of homeowners that are willing to just let you take over their home. And I'm going to explain to you exactly why they're willing to let you take over their home, how to attract them. So if you haven't done so already, like, share, leave some comments on the feed. And what are we going to talk about? Okay, so today is Real Estate Investing Day on the John A. McCabe Show, as we've promoted for the last couple of weeks. So, like I said, the guest, Mike Wolf, is not here, and that left me scrambling this morning. So, just 1 hour before this show, I just came up with a presentation that I'm actually just going to roll out for you, as well as I came up with an interview that I had previously done with my coach, Ed Rush. So we're looking forward to getting into that as well. So what we're going to do is Margaret's going to run it to just before she hits that button. We're going to cut to a brief interlude here while I set up the PowerPoint presentation. And then when you come back, we're actually going to I'll start on the presentation. We're going to get into the 3 types of homeowners who are willing to let you lease option their home. And I'll go through and I'll talk about each one of them in detail. And then after that, like I said, I've got my good fortune to have one of my coaches, Ed Rush, that I did a previous interview with. He's going to be joining us. And we're going to talk about real estate investing. We're going to talk about marketing and attracting those particular homeowners. So I've got a great show lined up for you. And Margaret, this show is sponsored by I Offer Solutions, Real Estate Services. So, Margaret, if you just want to cut to that commercial real quick, and then I'll get the PowerPoint presentation set up. guys, welcome back for that short interlude. Thank you very much. And what I'm going to get into today is brought to you by Infinite Real Estate ROI and the ultimate real estate investing, marketing, and money-making system. And today I'm going to share with you the 3 types of homeowners who are open to leasing their home and then selling them. Now, if you haven't done so already, what I'd like you to do is show us some love, like this, share it on your Facebook, leave some comments and some questions as I'm going to go through this presentation. And let's get rolling. So the 3 types of homeowners who are looking to lease their home and then sell it. The very first type are homeowners that are willing to rent. Is staying stagnant. There's always going to be those houses out there that are just not selling, especially if it's in a stagnant market or a buyer's market, which means there's a lot of supply of houses on the market, but a lot fewer buyers. So houses will actually sit on the market for a length of time and actually not sell whatsoever. So these people are actually open to renting their house out and then selling it in the future. So these are homeowners who have to sell their home, but they just can't. They have the ability to lease option properties, and this strategy works right around the country, right around the continent, and actually in the world as well, because I'm currently working with and coaching a real estate investor who lives in the Philippines, who read my book, The Rent-Own Revolution, and he's been doing real estate investing, buying foreclosures over there, and he's actually starting to look at implementing this type of strategy so that he actually doesn't have to purchase the home outright for people who are going into financial problems. So this strategy works anywhere around the world. The only difference is it's not the attracting the homeowners that's the difference. The only difference is the paperwork or the contracts. So again, house not selling, people just can't afford it any longer. Maybe they bought or built really good when it's time to build their home, when they set up the financing, when they're just breaking ground, and things can change dramatically in the course of 12 months where you can have a buyer's market, not many people buying homes. Now they're stuck with 2 properties and they're looking at, okay, well, my house isn't selling. What am I going to do with my home? Am I going to rent it out? Am I going to turn it, just keep trying to sell it, try to carry both mortgages? And a lot of times people just end up renting their home out because they just can't carry the mortgages and they don't think that there's any other option out there. So what I've done is created a strategy where when it's presented to the homeowner that our company will actually lease their home for 2 to 3 years and then buy it, it actually fits ideally into that specific niche, or the homeowner is looking for that particular strategy or that particular option that will actually solve all of their problems, because they typically don't want to be a landlord. Now, if someone's getting divorced, obviously, strategies, because in that case, a lot of times somebody's not paying and they're either going to end up into foreclosure or default. So they're looking for just some strategy where they'll have a sale in the future. And remember, these are for houses that are just not selling on the marketplace today. And the next one is deaths or something. somebody doesn't have the ability to actually pay for it. So type number 2 are people that can't afford to sell today, and I see this way too often. Typically the CMHC fees are 3.5% to upwards of 4%, so that home is almost 100% financed. Now if you own that home for less than 7 years, you basically have barely paid down the mortgage enough to have enough equity to cover your down payment, especially if the marketplace is not cooperating, meaning that the home price has not increased because there has been no appreciation, which is really the devaluation of your dollar, really. So if there's been no appreciation over the last 5 to 7 years, and you've almost 100% mortgage financed, then typically in a selling scenario, a lot of people are not going to be able to afford, because you're going to put it on the marketplace, they're not going to be able to afford to sell it, because they'll put it on the marketplace, people will negotiate on the price. Then if you're selling it with a realtor and they take typically their 7% of the first 100,000 and 3% of the rest, then in a lot of cases on your average $350,000 home, you're looking at anywhere around close to $15,000, $350,000 to $400,000 home, looking at $15,000 to pay the realtor. There's been any negotiation in the price from the selling point. In a lot of cases, people are not even walking away with the down payment that they put in the property, which means that they just can't afford to sell the property. They're going to sell it and walk away with less money than they actually put into the property at the very beginning. So let's just take a look. So these are homeowners, like I said, who bought their home in the past 7 years. Are still, because the market has not come back as much, there are still properties, I know in my region, there's still properties that haven't reached the peak of the 07-08 price point yet. Now, not all of them, there's typically townhouses and things like that, but a lot of the homes have recovered. However, if you bought with 5% down, you're not going to have enough mortgage pay down along with to be able to actually recapture your down payment. So as I said, with CMHCs, you're almost at 100%. So if you haven't done so already, I'm just going to please like and share and leave some comments. And I'll just, after I finish the presentation, I'm just going to quickly get to the comments. I'm just going to pull them up on my phone here. Share and leave some comments. Whoops. I turn my phone down, the volume of my phone down. So again, these are people that can't afford to sell today. It's a slower housing recovery resulting in small appreciation. As I talked about that a little bit earlier, the market hasn't gone up or has. Differential payment. So what that means typically, and you really have to watch what type of mortgage you get into, because a lot of people will just go for the lowest rate, and the lowest rate is not always the best, because there could be terms in your mortgage which, if you actually want to get out before your term is up, that there's huge payout penalties, and you want to have some flexibility. So right now, over the in the past few years, I've seen payout penalties upwards of $30,000-$40,000 just to break a mortgage. A lot of times people are calling me in and they've only been into their home, into the mortgage for 1, maybe 2 years, and they still have 3 or 4 years left of their mortgage. And for them to actually get out of it, the home hasn't appreciated at all in the time that they've owned it. They are pretty much 100% financed. So with the paying the realtor and the fees to the bank for the prepayment penalty, they actually have to come out of pocket probably anywhere from $20,000 to $40,000. So they just can't afford to sell their home today. So this solution of someone coming in and actually renting their home for 2 to 3 years and then buying it from them actually works out extremely well. So they have to move on. They're moving on from their home anyway. Either they lost their job, or they're moved into a new place, or they have to downsize. Whatever the reason, they're looking at selling their home today, and they just can't afford to sell it. So most people only think that their only other option is if they rent it out. So what we're doing is we're educating people that there is a third option. This is a great option where you can actually be a landlord without actually the hassles of a landlord. You can have somebody come in and a company come in and rent your home for 2 to 3 years with the option to buy it in the future. So it gives, one, time for your mortgage to get paid down an extra 2 to 3 years, or 3 to 4 depending on the situation. 2, you're not going to pay the realtor fees because there's no realtor involved in the sale of the property. And 3, you're going to eliminate those mortgage payout penalties. And that alone, those 3 things alone can save you upwards of $20,000, $40,000, $60,000 in a lot of cases. As mentioned, another reason people can't. We actually educate or consult with investors on a regular basis, because this particular strategy is it's very specific, and there's a lot of moving parts that go into it. And if there's a lot of investors out there trying to do this strategy and actually do it wrong, and where the person will actually never qualify. So it's a very specialized industry now. It's become a very specialized industry, and we're one of the only companies across Canada that actually keeps up with all the regulations, not just from the legal standpoint, but from the mortgage industry standpoint, as well as the mortgage insurer, CMHC and Genworth, those sort of things. And we are constantly changing. Our contracts are constantly adapting to whatever the new changes come in. So a lot of times we'll actually just be hired as consultants, or we'll sell our contract service for people that actually are investors and they want to turn their home into a rent home, but they want to make sure it's done properly. So they will actually hire us to come in and either consult with them or set it up for them at the very beginning, and then they deal with it for the remainder of the term. So these are the people that actually want to maximize the return on investment. They want to make that extra $20,000, $40,000, $60,000 themselves, as opposed to splitting it with us by us actually being involved for the duration of the term. So these are homeowners who want to get the most out of the sale of their home, or they're real estate investors. So smart homeowners or smart investors. Going to pay the rent on time specifically. So there's a lot of homeowners that are just they don't understand the reality of being a landlord or the reality of investing. So maybe just share with us some of your comments on your experience being a landlord. I have talked to landlords where they've had the same tenant for 7-10 years. Those are a real minority. Typically, a tenant usually stays for about 2 years. In a lot of cases, if you want the cream of the crop, if you want the very top tenant, type of tenant available, you want to attract the very best, then what you're going to do is you're going to, once the tenant leaves, you're going to go in there, you're going to do all the repairs and maintenance. You're actually going to repaint the entire place, get it in pristine condition, do any, fix any minor nicks, get the carpets professionally cleaned yourself, definitely getting the furnaces cleaned, doing a lot of these things. And typically you're looking at, a month, at least a month to do all of that. And once it's done, you're going to put it up for rent. And it's typically going to take you within 30 days, you should have a very good qualified tenant to go into the property. Now, tenants are not just waiting at the curb to get into your home. Typically, they need to give a month's notice. So that's a third month. So typically every 2 years, a very good landlord with some top quality properties will account for a 3-month vacancy every 2 years, or 1.5 months per year. Now, it doesn't mean that your home is going to be vacant that much, but if you're running your real estate business as a true business, you're going to account for that type of vacancy, because you never know. It may be full for 5 or 6 years. But then when the person leaves, it may be a time frame when the vacancy rates are in double digits and you're sitting with it vacant for 6, 8, 12 months before you can get another quality tenant in there, and you're taking a lower price. So it's good to budget for that extra vacancy. A month and a half per year is typically what we're budgeting for. They realize that there's risks involved in being a landlord. Our service, where our company rents their home out for 2 to 3 years and then has the option to buy it, because we come in and we pay them pretty much fair market rent. There's zero vacancy for the duration of the term. We handle all the repairs and maintenance under $1,000 per instance. So they're not getting phone calls in the middle of the night saying the plumbing needs to be checked or whatever. Our company is typically dealing with that. When they sell the property, there's no real estate fees involved because there's no realtors involved. So a lot of our homeowners typically like this solution, whether they're going to do it themselves, taking us up on our consulting service, or they want us to take over their property in our guaranteed service. So these are the 3 types of homeowners who that you can sort of look for and attract. A lot of money to be made using that particular strategy, where you don't actually have to have any cash, any credit, or any joint venture partners. You're able to actually do this as a brand new investor or an seasoned investor adding to your portfolio. You're actually able to do this to generate a large sum of money to actually go and in turn reinvest into your buy, rent, and hold. So those are the 3 types of homeowners who would be open to letting you lease option their home or lease their home for 2 to 3 years and then have the option to buy it at the end of the term. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to make some, reset some things here while we're doing that. Margaret's going to cut to just a quick video, and it should be back in about 10 seconds or so. Okay, guys, we're back, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go through some of the comments here. Thanks, Andy Lockwood. Hey, Margaret. Andy Lockwood says I should throw you under the bus for not doing your job properly. I'm definitely giving that a thumbs up. Thanks, Andy. You're hilarious as always. Mark's promoting this to somebody else who is in real estate investing. Thanks for doing that, Mark. If you guys haven't done so already, please like, share this live feed. Post it on your feed. Leave some comments for me. I'm just going through the comments right now. Duncan says there's no sound, but Mark says there's sound. My mother's on. She says there's sound. My mother's my biggest supporter. Thanks, Mom. And let's see, Mark, every time you go full slide, you lose sound. Thanks, Mark. I know what the problem is. It's a problem in the setup. So, unfortunately, yeah, sorry about that. So hopefully things are back now. And like I said, if you haven't done so already, like, share, and comment on this video other than that there was no sound. So let's see, what's up next for us? How's the time, Margaret? 1:29. So I'm very honored to just bring up a video that I had the opportunity to interview one of my coaches not too long ago. One of my marketing coaches, an expert in copywriting, an expert. He's grown and sold 7-figure businesses, and the interview was really about the real estate investing space and him marketing and actually talking on national stages across the U.S. in the real estate investing space. So what we're going to do is, Margaret, we're going to switch to just before you switch. My coach's name is Ed Rush from San Diego, and Ed's a former fighter pilot, 4- or 5-time #1 best-selling author, and has a very successful coaching and consulting business as well, and heads up one of the masterminds that I belong to. Just an all-around great guy. He's somebody that you could sit around and have a beer with or a glass of wine with on a regular basis. Some of you guys out there definitely know Ed and have worked with him in the past. So what I'm going to do is we're going to switch to that video, and then I'll be back right after the video. So enjoy this interview with Ed. Hey, welcome back. My next guest is Ed Rush. A lot of you may not actually know who Ed Rush is. So Ed, why don't you just go ahead and tell the viewers on the show today just a little bit about who you are, sort of where you come from, and what you're up to these days.
Yeah, John. Well, thank you for having me on the show. By the way, it's an honor. I mean, like, my bucket list is finally complete, man. And I really do appreciate it, the opportunity just to be here and to share some thoughts with you and with your guests. My really short background, I was a fighter pilot in the Marine Corps here in the United States for about 13 years. I flew F-18s and a number of other airplanes. I left early, actually, instead of doing a 20-year career, so that I could spend more time with my family, and I found myself becoming entrepreneurial. So I started several businesses, grew several companies into the 7-figure range, which was a blessing, sold some of them as well. And now what I do, most of my time is spent either speaking to entrepreneurs or working with business owners to try to help them make more money within less time. In other words, maximize their time while minimizing expenses and help them to really increase income. So that kind of gives you a little bit of an overview of what I do.
Yeah, exactly. And somewhere in between there, I think in conversations we had, Ed, you talked a little bit about some of the speaking sessions that you had going across the country on the real estate investing sort of seminar circuit. Can you just talk a little bit about your experience and you know, the size of some of the audiences and what you witnessed during that time frame?
I spoke to just about every kind of audience. Big rooms, little teeny places in this corner of like the Radisson, and big conference rooms full of hundreds and hundreds of very smart investors. And I think I didn't really prepare this thought, but the first comment that I thought about when I thought about the real estate events that I've spoken at is like, you can hear like the Clint Eastwood noise in the background, like, you know, and it's like the good, the bad, and the ugly. Yeah. There are some folks out there right now, present company included, by the way, who are just doing an outstanding job, very ethically marketing real estate, being able to do very, very good deals consistently, who have a good, solid marketing system. And then and I'd say maybe that's the 20%. It's probably even less than that. It's probably more like the 4%. Then there's sort of that 80% of folks who have either just got into real estate investing, or they've been in and they're just kind of following guru after guru after guru, but have never really seen the success. And I would call that the bad. And then the ugly is someplace all over the place. And we've seen that too. If you've been following real estate investing for any time, you know there are just some phenomenal people out in the marketplace that are teaching. I'm blessed to be friends with some of them, like John, who have great concepts, great ideas that actually work on planet Earth, which, by the way, is like a really important consideration. What I found from speaking at event to event to event is that there were some very smart, bright people who are willing to share their information on their system, and their systems worked. And that's really one of the most important things, is that they have to actually work right on planet Earth this year, like right now, working now. Because you'll hear strategy after strategy. I mean, I can think of 10 right off the top of my head that strategies that worked phenomenally well back in 1990 that do not work at all right now. And so you need to be really kind of tied in to what's working now and stuff that's actually working on planet Earth. So that's a little bit of my experience speaking. It's like the tip of the iceberg, but it gives you kind of an idea.
Yeah, and you spent a lot of time, at those, we'll call them Pitch Fest seminars with a lot of real estate investors, and generating a lot of sales at those seminars. And unfortunately, I don't know how much you've been around sort of after the fact, or seeing the same people coming to the events time after time. From my experience, and we'll talk about your experience here in a second, but from my experience, typically, anywhere from 90 to 95% of those people that invest all of that money, and some of them invest large amounts. I mean, I invested 40,000 Canadian, so that's like $10 American into my real estate,
depending on the exchange rate.
Exactly, into my investing career. So, was it similar to when you were talking on the investing stages? Did you see a lot of people investing but really not generating the success?
Well, and there's two components to that too. And first of all, I have spoken at tons of events. I've spoken at very content-rich events where there were just good, solid people there, and very, very, very good, knowledgeable speakers that gave great content. I've certainly been to events before, like you have, where it's just one speaker after another, after another, after another. And there's kind of some things to think about. I usually have a litmus test when it comes to what to do and how to invest. So the first concept to remember when you're thinking about taking the next step is very simple, which is nothing. No system works. I don't care what it is, a marketing system, real estate system, management system, leadership system. No system works unless you implement it. Okay, so the people who design educational materials, like me, like John, create these so that when you implement them in the way that we've created you to implement them, you should see a result. You should see the success that you want. The litmus test that I typically use when I'm going into a program is I would like to personally be able to see at least a 5 times, potentially a 10 times return on what I've invested. But I know going in that I'm not going to get that without actual implementation. And that's really one of the first things. There are a lot of events where you'll see, like John, I went to a real estate event, and I don't even want to admit this, but there was a speaker up on stage who said, this is a direct quote, by the way. He was talking about using the internet, and he had everyone put their fingers up. And he said, now I want you to just tap your fingers like this. Tap your fingers, tap your fingers. Everybody tap their fingers. And he looked at them and he said, as long as you can tap your fingers like that, you can make money with the internet. And I almost fell backwards into my seat and broke my neck. It was just so out there. But there are folks who are out there who are teaching that. But the first thing is, it takes actual implementation. It takes steps. Yes. Now the great news is when you have a system that works, like I talked about in the first principle, it's less steps, okay? So what I find in the coaching that I do, and I know, John, that you do the same thing, is you'll have a coaching member or someone who's bought your system who's doing 100 things. And when it comes down to it, there's really only 2 or 3 things they really need to do and dedicate their time. They're spending 80 hours a week doing 100 things, and if they only spend 30 hours a week doing the 2 or 3 things that really matter. And that's the important part about the system. And so this is the thing you have to remember about when you're interested in following information in the real estate market, which, by the way, I do this now. I actively invest in people's programs because I want to learn, okay? And so I'm not against the idea, but I'm against the idea of investing in programs where people tell you, hey, you don't have to do any work. Just follow the thing, push the button in.
Yeah.
It's just not true. It's like the weight loss program that doesn't involve actually eating right and working out, okay? and so the other thing that I really consider when it comes to the teacher, and this is a really important thing, is when you're looking at the teacher, what you're looking for, there's two ways to market any product. And one is a short-term way and one's a long-term way. The short-term way I call the pirate method. That's where you come in, rape, pillage, take everything you can, and you leave, and you're not welcome back, okay? The other way is what I call the rancher or the farmer method. That's where you go into town, you buy a small piece of property, you work the land, you provide some food in return for some money to the local people. You start to buy more land, you start to grow your assets while helping the community more. Next thing you know, you're voted into public service. You're the mayor of the town. Everyone loves you. You provided a great service, and you become rich by doing it. And so when I'm looking to follow gurus, I'm looking to follow farmers. This is the way that you can identify farmers or ranchers. Their customers come back to them again. Okay? Yeah. And so, for example, as you're watching this webcast, you're seeing people who have worked with John. That's an important consideration, because the pirate method marketers who do slash and burn marketing, they will not have customers who come back to them over and over and over again, and that's a key distinguisher.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. And one of the main reasons why I went into implementing or building a system, well, number one, it was for me. It was for my own business. Right. I needed to generate leads and opportunities. I'm an introvert. I need to do it to attract people to me. But in doing so, I noticed that there was a very big gap in the marketplace when it comes to real estate investors. A lot of them will take the education. A lot of them will try the old school methods or try what they were taught, that might have worked 5, 10, 15 years ago, but doesn't work nearly as well in today's environment, because everybody starts their searches online, or it's a very internet-based society now. It's a very social society. So, and really a lot of real estate investors are not marketers, nor do they study marketing. And that is a huge advantage, I think, that that I've taken, coaching with you for 2 years and some other really smart coaches and mentors to help me streamline my system and make the messaging so good that we're getting high conversion rates. And I'm quite sure that from your experience that you saw that gap was sort of missing in the industry. Man.
Well, and that's an interesting point too, which is this. There are people who don't want to study marketing, and there are people who don't want to study copywriting. Now, John, you and I spend a lot of time learning and growing and investing in copywriting and marketing. But the fact is, that's what we teach and that's what we coach on. And so it becomes important for us to stay cutting edge and to know what's working now, what's not working yesterday. But for those folks who, for example, there's people who don't love selling. They don't really love the idea of selling. And that's fine. That's perfectly acceptable. That's who you are. There's people who don't love marketing or don't like keeping up with all of the ideas and trends in marketing. But for those who don't like copywriting and don't like selling and don't like marketing, while that's perfectly acceptable, what you need to do in the place of that is you need to start following people who are on the cutting edge when it comes to copywriting, marketing, and selling. Okay, and so that's the reason why you have coaches and mentors. There are plenty of topics. The three that I just mentioned, I would consider, John, both you and I, expert class on. And I think we've got the financial results, frankly, to prove it. Yes. But there's lots of topics that I don't particularly really want to be on the cutting edge of. And so what I do is I simply connect to people who are on the cutting edge. That way I can get the distilled version, or like in this particular case, I can just get a plug and play system that's already been written the right way that I can just fall into and use and not have to make all this stuff up on my own. Yeah,
exactly. And that's how I transitioned from just doing this for myself into helping other real estate investors. This was sort of the missing piece. So I was able to sort of package it in such a way that I could help other real estate investors by taking the system and the knowledge and everything that I've learned over the past 6 years when it comes to marketing, and help them create a system that has a proven track record and proven success and proven results. So I can help them generate more leads, opportunities, and actually close on more deals. So
because,
And it would take,
just from your perspective, I know that you're not a highly technical guy when it comes to all the techie stuff. So, but a lot of your business is online business. So I'm sure that you have worked with or, got into some systems with people, that people have systems that you just sort of said, well, it works. I know it works for them. And that's exactly what I need. So I'm not going to reinvent the wheel.
No, in fact, I built a business that I don't currently own, but back in 2008, 2009, where I built an entire team of coaches and trainers and implementers who all they did was implement website strategy, email strategy, launch strategy on behalf of my coaching members. I don't barely know how to even put a website up. I'm sitting here just before this call, John, trying to edit some video that we've got for this upcoming event that we're going to, and the thing keeps crashing. I am not a technical person at all. However, I do know how to actually ask people and delegate things and get things done. And like you said, the system is really key. And I think this is a really important point, which is, you mentioned it took you 6 years to develop the system, which essentially means either it will take someone 6 years, if they're really fast learner and they're faster than you, say 4 years. The average person maybe 8 or 10 years to learn the skills and the system that will work in 2015. Okay, and so this is a really important consideration, because what John has is 6 years of implementation and learning for a system that actually works right now. And this is why this is so important. I made a rule, and I know this is your rule too, which is I decided about 5 years ago. I said I am no longer going to work with people who are trying to be cheap on their way to success. Okay, the things that John's learned and that he's implemented cannot be distilled from a Google search. Okay, you might find snippets and pieces and parts here, but you've got a marketing system that people have actually responded to, and that's one of the most important things. You do searches on Google and you look at people's marketing ideas. What you don't have certainty on is that they've sent that email out, they've used that promotion, they've had that website up, and people actually responded to it, okay? You'll have people that'll look at websites and go, wow, that looks amazing, and I'll go, we'll see what happens. Yeah. Because what really matters is someone actually taking action on your website, on your email, on your sign, on your letter, on your discussion. Those things are important, which is why if you're starting out, or if you're aspiring, or if you're experienced, you want to use a system that's already been proven to actually get people to do stuff, and then you can fall in on it, make it your own, maybe change the wording just a little bit to match the way that you would speak or sound, and then just continue to cash the checks and have the results.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's one of the main reasons why I invest consistently with you guys is that you guys have done the legwork. It's sort of step-by-step simple for a lot of us, and we're able to draw on your vast education resources and help and everything that that the tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars you guys have invested in not only your education but testing things to make sure they work properly. So I think that's a key point that a lot of people have to really grasp is to latch on or to get involved with the individuals who are seeing the success, have a proven track record, have done the testing, and actually do this business, because that's huge. From hiring just a computer programmer or somebody to create a website or something to try to attract a motivated homeowner is really not that going to be that cost effective, because one, that person doesn't even know what the pains, fears, frustrations, or ambitions of that homeowner are. They haven't been through it. They don't know. They haven't sat across the table from hundreds to thousands of people to see, what are the main 4 or 5 reasons why they actually would want to rent their house for 2 to 3 years and then sell it, as opposed to just selling it today. So I think that's an important point.
And back to the first point, and those folks, even if they do have those 4 or 5 answers to those questions, within a year the questions change. Yes. Market changes, finances changes, the financial playing field changes, real estate market definitely changes, and so the questions change, which again is the reason why you need to stay plugged in with someone who's actually doing these deals right now.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Ed, I know I'm a little bit over on the time that you allotted for me, and I really appreciate it. Do you have any final parting words for our guests or anything?
Well, I mean, it's more of a summary, which is this. Now it's just like Here's the thing. There's more opportunity right now than I've ever seen in the marketplace. There's less scarcity, more opportunity. Who knows how long that will last? And so there are often times when you invest in programs, sometimes there's an urgency, like the deadline is tonight, or we're going to take this number of people into the coaching class. And those are reasons to act. But in my opinion, oh my goodness, the reason to act and to get involved now is the opportunity that's available to you. I mean, think about this. If you had the opportunity to get in on Dell stock when it first IPO'd, or Apple, for crying out loud, when it was almost bankrupt. I live here in San Diego, and in 2009, I bought the home that I'm currently sitting in. We bought this home at the bottom of the market. And I had previously sold a house, a condominium here, basically at the top of the market. I had no idea what I was doing, and I'm not patting myself on the back. It was like blind luck, mirrors, and Ouija boards, really. It wasn't those last couple things. But the point is, I didn't actually know what I was doing. But think about it. If you could go back to the bottom of the market in 2008, 2009, buy a bunch of property and be selling it now, are you kidding me? That's opportunity. And the window right now, in my opinion, for this type of investing is wide open. And with any window that opens, think about any market, stock market, real estate market, the internet, everything, every opportunity that I've ever seen, certainly every opportunity I've ever taught, the door opens wide, a bunch of really smart entrepreneurs move in through the door, and eventually the door slams shut. And so you could be sitting here 6 months or a year from now listening to this going, man, I wish I had just taken action. So I'm not sure what the deadline is. I'm not sure what the number of people that you're taking. I know those are limited. But the reason why I would get going now is because you're going to miss out, I believe, on an incredible opportunity. And you might as well get in while the opportunity is available now before the door shuts. You have to move on to something else, or just look back and see that you've missed a really great opportunity.
Excellent. I thank you very much for your time, and I look forward to seeing you real soon.
You got it, John. Talk to you soon, man.
Okay.
Hey, welcome back. This is John A. McCabe, and you're watching the John A. McCabe Show, your Authority Acceleration Coach. And today we're talking about why you don't need to have cash, credit, or joint venture partners to be a real estate investor, control millions in property, and make a six-figure a year income. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to explain to you in detail how to overcome the idea that you need to have a large amount of cash, good credit, or wealthy investors in order to do real estate investing. So I'm going to begin this with a real life story, one which takes place back in 2009 when I was a business consultant and I had one client. For the past 4.5 years prior to that, I helped grow and build a company from $1.5 million to $7 million in revenue, and dramatically increased the bottom line earnings by implementing processes, procedures, people, and project management methodology into an operation of an industry that I knew nothing about. The problem is that it was a recession, and that recession was caused by the mortgage crisis. And I was given a one-day notice that my contract was over. Talk about being shocked. But fortunately, I had investigated passive income strategies and just taken a few advanced real estate investing courses. And the last one I took was that of a lease option strategy. Now I knew I could do real estate investing without needing any cash, credit, or partners if I just focused on the strategy called a sandwich lease option. Now my biggest challenge is that I'm an introvert. So cold calling or knocking on doors, it just does not work for me. So I needed to be have a competitive advantage over everybody else. Now, fortunately, I just had some experience with an online business back in probably the early 2000s that enabled me to put up a website that ranked very highly on Google. And I created some really good marketing material, as Ed talked about previously, in ads that worked from day one. Now, because of the lease option strategy and the marketing system, I was able to put together my first deal within 2 months, making $5,000 up front and $600 a month cash flow for the next 36 months on that particular property. But it didn't stop there. Now, over the next 24 months, I was involved in 24 different deals, controlling over $10 million in real estate, making a six-figure a year income without ever needing any cash, credit, or joint venture partners. And not only that, but I took that same system and same strategy, and I leased it out to some of my private coaching clients for $25,000 for 1 year. And they went on to surpass what I did by closing on 13 deals in 12 months, and they generated over $200,000 in one-time income in that year. Imagine $200,000 of income in that 1 year. But not only that, they had a monthly cash flow of $8,400 a month. Now the system works so well that I was approached by my coach and mentor when he decided to create a nationwide rent-to-own business, and he brought me in as a full partner because of the power that the system, of the leads that the system generates. So here's my secret and what simplifies the entire process for you and help you overcome the challenges. And that's this. So it's 5 different things. First, you need to understand your homeowner's pains, fears, frustrations, or ambitions, and you need to frame your solution around their problem as a solution that they're looking for or an option that they want to consider. So bottom line, you want to get the phone ringing and the emails coming in and people wanting more information and to book a meeting with you so you can share with them how you can help them. Now the second thing is you need to have a place like a website landing page where you can direct them to get more information that speaks the same language as your marketing material or your ads. Now the third thing is you want to have an ethical bribe or a reason for them to give you their contact information in exchange for something that they deem to have value to them. Maybe it's a video series, or maybe it's a download PDF, or something that's actually going to show them how they can make more money working with you than they can if they do it on their own. Now the fourth thing is you need to follow up with them via email and phone to book that meeting and get in the door to do a presentation. Now the fifth thing is you need to present it as an unbiased party. Present it as if you're an unbiased party, showing them all the options available to them right now. That's being selling it today, renting it out themselves, leasing it to you, and then you have the option to buy it, or they do it themselves with your assistance, basically the consulting program. You need to be an unbiased party. Just show them all the options. Show them how much money they're going to make from every single option, and let them pick the option that works best for them. Now what you're going to end up finding is they're always going to make more money working with you than any of the other strategies out there. So following these 5 steps that can get you as many homes as you can handle to turn into rent-owns. Making money today, every month, and also money at the end when the deal closes. Now my market, I typically make somewhere between $40,000 and $60,000 per rent-to-own deal over the course of a 3-year time frame. And the best thing is I never need any cash, credit, or joint venture partners. So just imagine if you had a few of those closing every deal, if you were putting together a few of those every deal, or how about one a month? What would that mean to you, your family, your life? Now it won't take very many of these per year to replace the average person's yearly income. So bottom line, in my experience, there's an abundance of homeowners out there who just can't afford to sell their home right now, or they're in a position where this is an ideal solution for them, and they just need someone to present it to them in an effective manner and show the homeowner all the benefits to them using this particular strategy. So what I want to do right now is to inspire you to start attracting these homeowners yourself and get them to connect with you and to find out more information. So what you're going to discover is very quickly is the number of people who want this kind of option is astounding. And it's such a way that you get into real estate investing. It's definitely a way for you to get into real estate investing and not needing any cash, any credit, or any joint venture partners. And it's a way for you to control, as I did, millions of dollars in real estate and actually make a 6-figure a year income. So what I've done is I've put together a free PDF on writing killer copy for attracting those motivated homeowners. This is going to help you with those 5 different steps and help you get the homeowners and attract them so they're actually willing to lease their home to you for 2 to 3 years and give you the option to buy it in the future. Now it's actually going to walk you through the process of creating the ads and the marketing material that will really help you to get the phone ringing. Now I want you to have it as a special guest for joining me on today's show. So to get access to the free PDF, we're going to have a link in the down below after the show airs, and you can click on the button and access the free PDF that's my gift to you and learn how to craft messages and copy that really attracts the motivated homeowners and gets them to take action. It's really going to elevate your authority or position as the investor who has a solution that's going to solve their problems. Now, this in turn increases the number of opportunities you're going to get each and every week, and you can turn those opportunities into deals. So if you have any further questions, or you'd like to find out more about the Rent-to-Own Revolution course or the Done-For-You marketing systems, just make sure to contact me, PM me for more information, or go through the website, johnamccabe.com. And make sure you like the Facebook page and subscribe to my YouTube channel as well. So comment below, share this with all your friends, and I'll see you in just a minute.